Hello, I'm Roz Dimon. Today is April 26th, Tuesday. I'm coming to you from Shelter Island, and I'm here with my artist cohort, Michael Pierre Price from Phoenix, Arizona. Wow, isn't technology cool? We love it. Welcoming all of you to the first digital handshake. It's a series that we've come up with that is a interview series between artists who are showing in the historic TECHSPRESSIONISM digital and beyond show of international artists that just opened last Saturday out here in Southampton, New York. And wow, what an opening it was. I mean, someone said we had over 300 people, even though it isn't a determination how many. It was a lot, and it was exciting, and it was a really new kind of movement going on out here. It was, I wanted to say a little bit about it. TECHSPRESSIONISM was founded and curated by Colin Goldberg, who also is from this area. And he curated the show as well. We definitely want to give a salute to Colin.
Amazing amount of work.
He has, hasn't he?
Well, and Roz, 2 years ago, TECHSPRESSION didn't even, this community, this thing didn't even exist. It's crazy how much has happened in this short amount of time.
And you know, now that you're saying that, I'm thinking probably because of COVID a bit, it drew us together. We all wanted to be with other artists. But the funny thing, and you and I have talked about this too, is that now that we've met with these other artists who also use technology for their art, and in our arenas, our private arenas, sometimes we only find one or two people who are kind of out in this ozone in the metaverse where we are and have been, that we're kind of closer to this group that goes all around the world than we are sometimes to the next door neighbor. So it's curious.
Yeah.
But why not have both, right? Nothing like face-to-face, actually.
That's true.
Yeah, I also want to mention Helen Harrison, who is our exhibition advisor and director of the Pollock Krasner House and Studio Center out here in the Hamptons. And it's interesting to note that there was a very famous picture taken of the movement with Pollock and, you know, his wife Lee Krasner, and the whole abstract expressionist thing with Bill de Kooning and many other women too, and men. There's a famous picture of them on the beach. And it was written about recently in one of the coverage reports that this seems to be a historic movement and a different kind of scape, if you will, than that one, which really disrupted the scene a bit, ushering in a whole new arena of American art. And this is really an international situation, but it is tied to this base where Colin showed first, or not first, because she's shown so much, his work is terrific, with the Krasner, with the Pollock Krasner House, and met Helen Harrison, and she found what he was doing interesting. And I just want to quote her, or slightly quote her. One of the main things she said, which I think is pivotal, and she says, "This movement is not about any one style, but rather, in this case, it's more about an approach. As regards the artists in the show, their work responding to a very digital technical age, because, you know, and you can comment on this too, Michael, but when I was looking around the show and also in our salons that we have every other week, the breadth of work we have, it's not like everybody's painting or drawing like I do or you. Some are working with AI, some like me are working with software programs like Photoshop and kind of turning those on their ear. And there are now 90 artists with 20 countries. I mean, if you want to.
Yeah, it's phenomenal. And yeah, I really do feel that we are responding to the techniques of this very highly informational technical age that we're in. And as artists historically have shown, we're innovators, and you look to see what you can do new and differently and build upon what's existed beforehand. And the fact that this is so international, that it is not dominated by men or women, but there's a real strong presence of all kinds of traditions. I just feel that there's a depth here that's very, very powerful.
Right, and it's of this moment. You couldn't have an international closeness and group working together like this in any other age. I mean, because you
Correct.
just you weren't connected like this, and it's all
No,
about
there were-
connection.
No, not with this immediacy and not with this power. I mean, we definitely do get inspired by one another, and that's what's so cool about this community.
I totally agree with you. Do you want to say a little more about that, or I'll just get on to the?
Yeah, go ahead.
You're good?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay, good. So this is the kickoff of the digital handshake, and it's digital handshake #1. Again, I'm Roz Dimon and Michael Pierre Price. We both have pieces in the show. And so before we share, we're going to be sharing about the works in the show, a little bit about our work process, and perhaps speaking later a little bit or throughout to the most important question we feel, which is like, why are we using the digital medium or technology to create our work? So we're going to speak to that. But I thought first, just to give you a little context, we're just going to go do a little fly through of the show to see our work in context. And with that, I'm going to go share my screen. Michael, can you see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Okay, great. I'm going to go in and just go to one of our colleagues. His name is Skojo. And there's a little secret about Skojo, but we can talk about that later, what that means. And he has a fly through right here in his Instagram. I'm going to blow it up big and take you through it.
Work. Let's do this.
He's outside the Southampton Arts Center, gorgeous space. We're not going to go through this whole fly through. This is before the opening, but we'll just zoom around a little bit so you can see how much is going on here. Can you hear me, Michael?
Yes.
Oh, good. Oh, Davo, our wonderful artist and moderator, Davo, who couldn't be with us that night along with quite a few others. But I'm not gonna, oh, there's Renata. We know everyone, but in this particular case, people are going to be sharing works. So I'm just kind of clicking forward, giving you an idea of what's going on. This is a huge panel of, I think, 15 artists, no, 9 on the wall. That's just one big room. There are 3 huge rooms. There's Colin's piece there in the middle, Invictus, and I'm just going rolling. There it is again, Colin's piece. I actually own one of his NFTs. Cynthia Rubin, a lot of people. I'm not Nina Sabel, not mentioning everybody. Christine Schooley, she's fabulous too. Coming in, and we're going to stop at 8:55 to look at Michael Pierre Price's work. I know this is a little jaggedy, but this is an imperfect art here. You know, we always like the spontaneity. So I'm going through different pieces that Skojo was taking pictures of. Now we're going to be getting, there's Nagin from Iran. We're quickly getting around the corner here. And when we round the corner here, you see how big this place is. We're going to stop when we get to Michael's piece, which is coming up. So Michael's not going to talk too much about it right now, unless you can say a few things, but we'll get more into it after when we go more in depth. But if you want to say something at the moment, Michael.
The biggest thing for me was I have a friend of mine who's that I've known for a long time. A long time ago, we worked together on some game projects and such. And he's a collector of my work, and he was kind enough to help me get the artwork to Southampton. He's buying the piece and paying for all of the shipping. And the fact that he was willing to do that on my behalf is the only reason that this physical piece made it there. And I'm so proud of the work, and I'm grateful for his friendship and his support of me. So one little behind the scenes story of how my work actually got there, because shipping is really expensive.
Yes, it is. I know. I love that. I'm so glad you shared that. And it's great that he bought the piece too.
Yeah.
And we like to eat. It's good.
Yes.
You know? Oh, that's great. Is that good? Do you want to say more?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Okay, so we're going through the show, and Skojo, going around here a little bit. Nina Yankowitz, really cool piece. I mean, all the pieces have their own merits. Dan Weldon. And I am right next to Holly Gordon, and I felt like we really complemented each other. And I'm getting into my piece. I'm just stopping for a second. You can only see part of it, the Kalashnikov. But the reason we did this is we just kind of wanted it on going forward and backward in this Skojo's video. I think I'll leave it as it is, but I just wanted to kind of show the breadth of the show, going around the room, going back to the center. Let's see, it's hard to control this video the way you want to. It's coming to you straight from Instagram as well. Okay, so I'm just.
The other nice, yeah, sorry, Roz. The other nice thing is that from the TECHSPRESSIONISM.com website, you can do a 3D walkthrough, which has been beautifully photographed and recorded. And you can see all the pieces, you can click on them and see information. So yeah, if you can't be there, which, you know, sadly not everybody can, there's still a lot of ways to view this, whether it's by videos or photos, and this 3D walkthrough, it's all great.
I totally am glad you added that. That's so true. Okay. Oh, didn't turn off my messages. Well, this is the way Zoom is. You know, it has a little serendipity to it. So I'm going to go in and without further ado, just talk a little bit about my piece that I showed that is called Kalashnikov 2, and show a few pictures. This is the invitation I thought people should see. People were grabbing these by like handfuls to give to other people at the show. Again, curated by Colin. I wanted to show just one shot of a spread that came out in Dan's papers, which is the rag out here in the Hamptons. And we had a 3 or 4 page write-up that quoted Colin Harrison and compared it to the early expressionists, and very excited about this as a really new movement.
Yeah.
Did you see that online?
Yes.
Michael? Yeah.
It's phenomenal. It really is.
And I did not, pay any money to get that Kalashnikov up on the banner. I was like, that was absolutely so surprised. And that was an editorial choice. So I was really happy that they put it there.
No, it's perfect.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. So I'm going to the show so you can see the piece a little better. I'm standing in front of the piece before the opening. 4 people are here. It's 90 inches. It's called Kalashnikov 2, in support of Ukraine. It comes from my gun series that I actually did 4 or 5 years ago, that came out of my Artifacts 2 series, where I was looking at weapons that we all are, and I was really saluting humanity's inventiveness and ingenuity in terms of, I would be using a peeler to peel my carrots, and I would be sitting there looking at it and go, look at that sharp little blade. I'm like skinning this little carrot alive, but it's for eating, and it's for consumption, and it's for good. And the weapon is contained, and it's held together, and it isn't there to puncture or really harm. And then that graduated into forks and knives. I mean, you can cut your meat with a knife, or you can stab someone with it. Into safety pins. Will this little safety pin mend a dress, or will it harm or maim with that little prick that it has? I mean, there's always that paradox in our inventions. And then it led me into guns. I mean, every day on our pages were, in our newspapers and everywhere, we're hearing about kindergartners being killed by AK-47, or things that are really come from the AK-47, which is a Kalashnikov. But they're good things done when it gets down to war, and when you're fighting for your lives. There's a lot of ironies going on right now. So when Colin asked me to show this piece 8 months ago, we didn't even know we were going to, of course, didn't know we'd be in a war with Russia, which makes, we kind of had like this zeitgeist moment, or gestalt or something, like, whoa, this is almost like, we said, do you want to show the piece? I went, yes. But I had my moments, because I wanted to be sure the piece was construed the way I want it to be, which does include paradox. It's more about questions than answers. I mean, the Kalashnikov really saved Russia from the Germans and Nazism when it was invented by a Russian. And now they're being used against Russia by Ukraine to save their very lives. So, and yet I'm very, very distressed. I'm for gun control. So I think the First Amendment, the Second Amendment is not more important than like the second commandment, to love one another. So as a minister and an artist, I'm always theologically thinking about my work, and that always comes out. But in short, in order to show this piece, this 90-inch long piece, which is one of 9, I felt I'm giving all proceeds to Ukraine. Of course, if it's purchased, and I hope it will be, but it's not exactly something everybody wants to put over their couch. This is really a museum kind of quality piece, I feel, so it's either going to be a very serious collector, or someone's going to surprise me, and I would love nothing more than to support Ukraine. And there is an NFT. I'll talk about that later. I'm just going to show a few more pictures. Here's a picture with Colin and myself at the show. And a few more people. We got Helen Harrison, myself, Giovanni Dubwoman, and Skojo. People at the opening. It was packed and crazy, and there were so many people. This young fellow, and he looked like he'd just come in from, like, I don't know, outer space or something. He had this wonderful orange outfit on, and I said, "Oh, hi, and you are?" And he said, "Oh, you don't know me." He said, "But let's get a picture in front of the Kalashnikov." So it's a serious work, but people seem to have a lot of fun in standing in front of it.
Wow.
And I just want to get a picture of James, my husband.
Yeah, that's great.
He's my greatest supporter. Since you shared your story about getting your piece to Southampton, I'll go ahead and share this. But my darling, wonderful husband, he's quite creative himself, and very much he's a security risk analyst and a technological person, and he just knows how to build things outside and in the metaverse and in the real world.
Okay.
But he loves art, and he's the most supportive husband and artist a woman could have. And here he is. We're driving in his Lexus, which I can barely get in without making sure my shoes are clean. I drive my '91 Dakota. You've seen it, the red and white truck. But he puts the seats down. We load this 90-inch piece in, and he's driving literally hunched up with this paintings over our heads, going to Southampton, and crouched over, and it's balanced. The front of it is balanced on top of our heads. So that's how we got it there. Anyway, I'm going to get out of this preview.
So Roz.
Yeah.
Oh, maybe you could. Okay, so I had a couple questions for you about this work.
Yeah.
How did you decide on the size of the piece? Because I think that's like really important. And it's curious because going from a digital to an actual printed piece, you're dealing with the physicality of what that image looks like and its presence. And then related is white imagery on a black background versus, say, a black image on a white background.
Well, actually,
I love it. I love this way because this almost feels ghostly,
yes.
or emanating.
These are great questions. To the first one, the size. This is something where I think education is so important right now for people to hear us speak about these things, because they go, well, I could just go take a screenshot of that online and just put it up on my wall. Well, go ahead, but it's going to start losing resolution really quickly. I mean, when you see this piece on the wall, it's crisp. When I made this piece, I started at a large size at 300 pixels per inch. And that it's sort of like measuring acreage in houses. It's a different way to weight really matters. Like this is like over a gig, I think, but it's only marked. So actually this one isn't, but some of my bigger Diamondscapes, which have thousands of pictures in the layers, they're large in terms of acreage, in terms of weight, in terms of bytes, and gigabytes. But in this case, I go in and I set my canvas, and I think I set it to like 70 by 25 or something. And as I kept doing the piece, it got bigger.
Okay.
I had to keep expanding and adding more canvas. So it was, and I will zoom in and zoom out, just like I do when I used to work on my oil on canvases. But I'm zooming in the screen and out, and I'm designing this to go out to this resolution. And honestly, I haven't really seen the final piece in a medium except in that ether where I work, which the whole thing is magic. It's all crazy. it's like you're going from your heart and your mind in this other metaverse and coming. I agree, the metaverse is a whole place people are now living, but I'm not sure I should even call the intros of a computer the metaverse, but it's certainly a different universe of pixels, and they're real, and you save them and you back them up. And there's only that one Kalashnikov or however many I make NFTs of, or also you have to just trust the artist at a point. But when I went out to see how crisp this was, when I went out to, I either go to Lamont or I use a few other people to produce my work when I know it's going to be very archival and beautifully done. Also framed here out here in Long Island by my friend Walter of Design Emporium, kind of nutty guy. Joyce does a great job for me, a real artisan. And I like to include them in the work, and I always give them invitations. You know, they're like part of your whole group. But does that answer your thing to size? And when I do a Diamondscape, that's one thing I think that the galleries haven't quite gotten yet, is that the commerce, because there has to be money in things to get exciting.
Sure.
And that's one reason the NFTs are drawing interest. But you know, when you do a piece or I get a commission from someone, say they want a Diamondscape portrait, I always ask, well, how big and how high are we gonna show this on a building, or are we gonna put it above your bedroom, or you know, in the lobby, and I design it to go out to whatever, it's really whatever.
Okay.
Whatever money can buy and you can translate into, whether it's tile, mosaic. So you're kind of going from the invisible, unseen medium of digital, at least for most people, out to a physical embodiment.
Okay.
You know, and I think people have gotten very confused about digital art. They sometimes think, oh, she did a painting and she made a digital print of it. And for those of us working in this medium, I'm working in digital. I'm working with those ones and zeros and programs.
Yeah.
Like you, maybe at a different phase. I'm working with software and going out.
Yeah.
But it's powerful, and it can be commoditized. I think the greatest works, you don't start that way, but you certainly think about how people can own them. I'm going to get off this picture.
Okay.
And we can keep talking. You had another comment though. What was it? It was the size, and what was the second part? Do you remember?
Oh, the image of white on a black background versus.
Oh, you know what? I'll talk to that in the next few pictures. I will talk to that. Absolutely talk to it.
And then the other thing for me is what I find really powerful, and I also found that very powerful in your Lincoln series, is your mark making, your artistic mark making, because you're not replicating like in a photographic way, like a classic digital painting. It seems like you really focus on meaning and inspiration, what those images bring to you that you want to share. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth here, but as somebody who really, really enjoys your work and finds it really powerful, I like the way those marks emphasize what the subject matter is about versus trying to replicate something.
Yes.
In a traditional, realistic sense.
Thank you.
You get to the heart of the subject, or the essence, or the feeling. And to me, as an artist, I find that really powerful, and I like that about your work.
Thank you so much. I mean, it's all about drawing and painting, and I go right from my heart, to get into it. And the only reason I could use other mediums, I mean, some of my digital looks like some of my drawings, but I got into this, as you know, because pixels invaded my paintings in New York City long ago, and the medium is a way that I relate to the particular time we're living in. I mean, some of those marks in that Kalashnikov, even though yes, they're my mark and it's with my hand and I'm using a stylus and it's feeling my pressure and my passion, which it is a passionate response to the world or things happening around us. I don't go and say, oh, I think I'll do a thing of this because it'll be successful, or I just don't think that way. I'm not a trender either at all.
Okay.
But I do respond to the world, and I know in my mind, as I watch the world around me, all of a sudden I know I start scribbling and I start thinking in these series. Usually things happen for me in series, and I get obsessed with something, and then I kind of obsess on something else. But it is very much about the mark and my heart and mind intuition to the piece, and it evolves in a way that I certainly can't predict. I'm a real gestural person, especially. I call the drawings like poems, you know, my diamondscapes are more like novels. I'm taking everybody to the TECHSPRESSIONISM site where they can go through that 3D experience that Michael was talking about and see more about the show and read the press release and see pictures of the international reception, which is why we don't have to talk about everything here. But I'm going down and scrolling. Here are all the artists in the show. And I'm going to take you to my page. And I hope that maybe Michael will take you to his, or I'll take you to his. And I felt it's important to share with you my statement where I say I use a machine to draw a machine in my Artifacts 2 series, ranging from safety pins and razors to high-powered semi-automatic guns. I draw with multiple brushstrokes and opacities. One mark to a layer, my digital pen responsive to my touch. A powerful weapon can paradoxically look like a melody. These works speak to humankind's inventiveness, precision, and craftsmanship while raising ethical questions about our power as the ultimate biological weapon. I'm going to go to show a little bit of this drawing where the original Kalashnikov 1 was black on white, and it was videotaped. And I'm just going to go into that for a minute, share that with you. So you see, I'm zooming in and out of my canvas.
Yeah.
I'm looking at I don't own a gun, and neither my husband or I have one in our entire household. But there is a gun on another screen, a Kalashnikov. Yeah. I knew I had to draw it.
This is really instructive to see your technique. I love it.
Thank you. They sped it up a little bit. I don't go that.
No, that's.
I know my friends from the South in Atlanta said, "Wow, you actually slowed down when you got to New York." I used to go like zooming, like I was running people over down there. You know, like, "Hey, Ross," you know.
I love the music with this too.
It's not very long. I can let it play, or it's I think I'll stop it because I actually use this music again for my NFT, and I love that it's Chopin.
Yeah.
And I thought I couldn't get something better, and it is free market, you know, no copyright. And I actually and I like that Poland has been so supportive of Ukraine, so I kept the same music in for my NFT. But I took this piece and reversed it out in the computer and reanimated it for my NFT. And the white on black, I agree, is a more ghost-like. I like this piece, and it can be bought either as Kalashnikov 1 or 2. But I'm showing Kalashnikov 2. And I want to just get out of this and go back to TECHSPRESSIONISM. Well, I think I'll go straight into the NFT. I think I have a link here to the NFT. So here we go. And you can turn the sound on and off, but it's the same music. So here I'm just letting the layers come up over time. I have a whole team that works with me, and one of my particular young coders, I could do this, but I had him do it because I had all the layers.
No, it's really riveting to watch. It's cool.
And then I put the timestamp on it for the NFT. This is, I'll stop it, but this is actually one of one, unique. Still trying to figure out how the best to go out into the NFT world. It's a one-in-one unique, one of a kind. So whoever owns this, they'll only own, they have their hand embedded in this animation, and it's one and only animation. Now, whether they want to play it for other people, even then, the digital code, the blockchain has encoded their name forever with this piece. And that's where it gives provenance to artworks that are really important. In the early days of the metaverse, where we are, you know, in the information world. So it is this piece. I had it up at 2 ETH. I put it down to 1. You know, I haven't spent all my time promoting. I just can't. You have to just keep working as an artist.
Yep.
And I also, if someone makes an offer, I will consider it. It's 1 ETH right now is almost $3,000. When I put it up a few months ago, you know, it fluctuates.
Yeah.
But the piece itself, the still image, one of 9 only, is 4,500, with some proceeds going to the Southampton Arts Center. But again, here, I'm taking no cut. And if the person wants to make money when they sell it again, the royalties to me, you know, I haven't quite decided on that, but, you know, totally. But I want Ukraine to get a lot of this. You know, this comes out of the heart.
Okay.
So I did want to show more, but we've got to get to you. So I might come back. It's already getting later than I thought, but we didn't start till like 2:20. We're probably okay.
All right.
I have some abstracts of the inner of the gun itself that are close-ups of the gun. Do you want why don't we talk? Let's take a switch and I'll come back to those.
Okay. That's totally up to you.
Because your questions were so great, but it just made it a little bit longer. So I'm going to stop the share. Yeah, because people, you know, I mean, they've looked at this gun now for a while. It's like, you know, really. But I do want to show a few close-ups because it shows how the intricacy of the brushwork inside, you know.
Well,
Yeah.
that's a very hallmark characteristic of digital creation in a lot of ways. That way.
In what way?
Being able to create this unique set of marks that you can utilize in all different kinds of ways, which is very, very, yeah, it as an artist, you do start thinking differently when you're using a digital media versus if you're using classic materials, if you will. There are similarities, but there are very distinctive differences.
There really are. But, you know, don't you remember, like, or at least I would say, when you know, my charcoal fell off and splattered into one of my my glass of water, and I picked it up and made a mark and went, oh, I'm going to draw like that. I mean, the medium affects the message, as Marshall McLuhan said. Yeah. Is the media, is the message, and is the massage, which we talked about together. But in digital, things happen and you go, oh, I'm going to try this. But go ahead. I'm going to be quiet.
All right. Well, let's see. I guess I shall share my screen here.
I hate it when things start playing and you don't want them to. Hold on. Oops, I'm sorry. I'm messing you up here. I can't get this music to stop. I just did. There you go. Wow. Well, that makes it live. Those kind of things happen. You go, well, that's an interesting way to talk with someone else's music behind your work.
So I'm assuming you can see the piece here in the Photoshop. So this piece is one of 13 that was in a solo show that I had last year called Call Me Ishmael. And it was the largest piece in the show, and it was on the back wall in kind of a U-shaped formation where the artwork was in the gallery. And it's a pivotal piece, and it's mathematically created, begun using fractals. And a 3D fractal program, and it took me a lot to get the coloring and the shading the way that I wanted to have this turn out. And I wanted to read sort of my message of what the show was about, because this is a central piece that ties into that, and I'll explain it in just a moment.
I want to say one thing though, like you interrupted me. Seeing this piece alone and not part of Call Me Ishmael, which I didn't get to go to the show, but you took a little walk around for me, or I saw some pictures. But seeing it alone, it has such a power and a beauty to it.
Oh, thank you.
Really expansive piece.
Yeah, thanks. I'm just showing it completely. Does that show up differently? for you on screen?
Looks like maybe less of the menus on the screen. So that's
Yeah,
good.
okay. So in this show, I had 3 surrealistic pieces. And there was a central character. It was a black bird in each one of those surrealist pieces. And that black bird was kind of like the central storyteller. So I'm just giving that as a background. So call me Ishmael. It is as good a name as any for a blackbird such as me. You see, I am an observer and I am a storyteller. My tale has no clear beginning and certainly no end. But the middle, oh, the middle, it repeats and repeats and repeats, but never in the same way. If you might allow me, I will try to explain. I've always been aware of your world. It is my role in the grand design of the universe. But from where you sit in the physical world, the universe appears very differently than it actually is. The physical laws of the universe bathe your existence, while in the metaphysical, truths are that the universe contains or conveys feels insubstantial and unreal to you. My world, the metaphysical one, is a fleeting shadow that feels like a trick of the mind. You see, my role this go-around is to share with you a fuller understanding of the existence so you might have a truer sense of it all and of yourself. The universe is unending and cyclic, no primal beginning and no ultimate end. Each cycle or eon has its own story, and each story flows from one to the other. As one story concludes in what is known as the gathering, the stage is set for the next, creating an infinite spiral of dynamic harmony. I am the observer from the metaphysical world, and I keep touch with each unfolding story of the universe deep within me. But when an eon ends and the next one begins, all that I knew previously fades away like a dream at dawn. Ultimately, what I am left with is a deep metaphysical wisdom, not the particular stories. And yet, it is because of that wisdom that I am also the storyteller. The physical and the metaphysical worlds are inextricably linked in this universe of ours in a conceptual framework, not dissimilar to quantum entanglement. We are not 2 halves of a whole. No, any imagined duality is an illusion. Our worlds are entangled much like a Mobius structure, creating a singular connected existence. It is this higher order linkage that is the engine of creativity and change in the universe. The framework of the physical world is built upon the precision of mathematics, while the metaphysical world, it is the flexibility of language. The physical world is a waking universe. The metaphysical world is the universe dreaming. My world is not bound by time. It either sleeps or it dreams. We live when it dreams, and the story unfolds when we are alive. When the metaphysical world sleeps, the story rests and we in turn dream. My dreams engrave the story within me. The works of art in this exhibition are the visual signposts in telling the story of the metaphysical world within this particular eon of the universe in which you exist. It is my gift to you. Taking the time to understand this story is your gift to yourself. I know that's a lot to read and a lot to take in, but that's what my solo shows are about. They're about like big cohesive concepts. And for me, that's my spirituality, is this sense that the universe exists, we are here, and darn it, that's all we need for this to be sacred and special. And
Absolutely.
all the window dressing that we get stuck on keeps us away from one another, unfortunately. And so this piece, like your dissimilar, but like your Kalashnikov piece, this is 54 inches by 36 inches, just shy of 175 million pixels in the whole piece. And you can see, I'll zoom out just a little bit here, but you can see there's a lot of detail to kind of take a look at. And the mathematics is what gives it all of the detail and precision. And trying to do anything like this by a human hand with physical brushes and such, you'd have to work on a scale of quite enormous proportions to get anywhere close to this sort of detail. And I wanted this piece. I talked about the Mobius strip, and I'm hoping everybody understands what a Mobius strip is. If you have like a thin ring of paper and you cut it, you could turn and twist the two ends, and you get this weird connection where the inside and the outside are all basically together. This piece from the flow, or from the light and flow of no mind, is about that area, basically the Mobius strip of the universe, where conscious beings may or may not come about in this particular existence of the universe. And it's in that Mobius strip element where the metaphysical and the physical are the most interconnected, and it's where the physical properties and the metaphysical properties of this incarnation of the universe determines whether there will be individual conscious agents within the universe. And obviously, since we're here, and we all think we're conscious, that in this
We think we are. Yeah.
This is that particular moment where all the ingredients came together to say consciousness can evolve in this universe, and that's what this piece is all about.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I love going in close. It's really nice, and it does seem that the piece, you know, it sort of tears apart the whole vanishing point. You know, that was the biggest thing. You know, the whole thing about centeredness, it all depends on where you sit in the universe and how much you know or what you're exposed to. You know, like you know, the vanishing point of 3D perspective. Here we're entering a whole. I do feel digital takes us into a new dimension.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, this work could literally not have existed without modern computers and software that utilize this area of mathematics, of fractals and chaos.
Beautiful. It has this sort of quick infinitesimal cycling going on that is beyond just my hands. You know, we have extended beyond our senses.
Yeah, so this literally could not exist without the technology that we have today.
Beautiful, beautiful and interesting, and has a mystery. I love the name of your show, Call Me Ishmael. What's the name of this piece?
From the light and flow of no mind. And no mind, so I'll try to do this real quickly. No mind for me is that flow, that essence of this core principle of creation in the universe. Obviously, we have religions that talk about God and all of that. For me, this is more along the Buddhist thought of being and non-being, and that you don't need some sort of mega huge intelligence running this whole thing that we have to worship in any way. That the universe, because it exists, is sacred just because of existence. And for me, this to me gives, I don't need any particular, you know, I don't need to be connected to any particular religion for me to still feel like a very spiritual, very, and I'm layering that on top of all my physics background and everything that I've learned educationally, because I believe that they do work together. And this,
I do too.
This is my artist perspective on trying to share that with other people.
Yeah, and I am somewhat religious, but you know, I'm religious plus I don't know. I believe in science and math and faith and all sorts of things all mixed up together.
Yep.
Yeah, but that's a fascinating. I'm always fascinated by your pieces and what you're saying, and it's a very, very compelling work.
Thank you, Roz. So how do you want to proceed from here now?
Well, I think I would like to, we've talked about tools and what's important and different about them. I want to just quickly show, I'm going to share the screen again. Oh, wait, I want to quickly just show one or two little pieces relating to the centeredness of things. For me, like even in the gun, everything happens in the middle. That's to me where the sparks fly, it's the center of things. And we don't always know where we are in the center of things, especially if we don't, now that I know about black holes, I'm like, oh, wow, that really just this blows my mind. What, that there are we say that we know our world, but there are millions and millions of galaxies with millions and millions of Earths. And you're right, the sacredness is right here, just grab it, and it helps because sometimes you get kind of upset about things, ego stuff in the art world, and sometimes I think on my gravestone, do I want to have she showed at the Whitney? Well, that would be nice, but you know what, you're wasting time. We have to, and I'm as driven as any other artist, but in some ways it's really great to have that sacredness about what you're doing and how am I going to connect to other human beings on this earth and say something to them where I connect with them, and it's all about being human, and it's more than being a bird. They're fabulous, but we have all those complexities, but we have the complexities of joy and terror and kindness and all those things. But well, you and I could just, this may go on for 12 hours, so you can turn off your TVs now, but we're doing the best we can, but we always get fascinated with each other and our discussions.
I know.
So it just happens. It happens very naturally. So I'm just going to go into really quickly. I wanted to show, you went up close, and I think it's very important in the world we're in to kind of go up close. These are other guns, just, a series of guns. But here's the Kalashnikov, and going back, I just want to go show some of the abstracts. How close up, just zoom through these really quickly, but look at some of these marks. I'm drawing with little stars, and I'm loading them. And when I load my brush, I pick up my brush. I don't even know where my Wacom tool is right now. This little brush right here, it feels my sensitivity. And I load it with, I go and pick the brush and what size it is and what transparency, and oh, I want a bunch of stars in there, and like this.
Are you showing anything yet?
Oh, you're not seeing anything?
No, you haven't shared your screen.
Oh, geez, we're all human. That's what it all gets back.
I thought you were getting ready to share your screen, so.
Oh, no.
Sorry about that.
I'll go back in.
All right, there you go.
You see it? Okay. So I started actually with the Kalashnikov, just to look at it. Well, I'll just start where I am. These are little close-ups within that Kalashnikov gun. And what I was talking was about loading my brush with these stars, picking the opacities, that big gray that comes through in the gun, and the kind of force, and see that little rumpled kind of brush in the background with the edge. That would be very hard for me to get with anything besides the digital medium.
Yeah. And
these little hairs and things, these are all in the belly, which for me is where the masculine and almost feminine forces of all our inventions are working in this divine tension, like the female parts of us, which I include men and women, having both of each other's chromes. I think the female in us, the birthing nurturer, holds back that seed that's going to come out of this gun. It says, oh, do you really want to pull that trigger? Because when you do, you're going to have rounds coming out. So there's a sort of force going on inside the belly of the gun. This almost looks like a beautiful poppy field, and I'm right in the center of a Kalashnikov, and these marks. I can't get these marks any other way, but with this particular medium. But we did want to talk a little bit, because we both talked a lot about our particular works in the show. I thought before we end, you talked a little about Call Me Ishmael. I guess I don't need to say too much about the Diamondscapes, because I don't want us to go too long here. But I'm just going to go in and show maybe Pale Mail. It's one of my earliest ones, but the idea being that the larger pieces that I do, I'm going to turn the sound off. when you look at it on the wall, it's a piece that looks like this, and you go, oh, what is it? The resolution's a little low. This is a low, an older piece, but it's my most famous piece in the 9/11 Memorial Museum, about finding home when your own is lost. But the fact that you can go inside the layers of the painting deeply, and that you have a bibliography with it, you know, I can't make a, like, you know, as we've talked about before, I've said this in another interview with you. I cannot, Picasso said, I'd like for someone to be able to lift up the layers of my paintings and go inside them. And in these particular works, here's a newer one, where, you know, it's just so multi-layered. And I'm taking people inside the layers of the painting. And when they stand in front of it, they go
The physical
inside,
component
they
of
go
this
inside it.
diamondscape.
I'm gonna turn the sound off. But I'm going to stop share. And it's a whole nother universe is what we're talking about here, right? And every single artist in TECHSPRESSIONISM, I think a lot of them have these kind of stories.
Yeah, and I think for me, that's what's been so powerful and inspirational in the salons that we have had, is that that's given me the opportunity not only to share my work, but to see yours, to see other artists in the group internationally, and just to see how much artistry and depth of thought and just beauty that's being created. And yeah, it's really fascinating and inspiring.
I agree. I just want to, I guess, I think we'll wrap it up here if you're good with that. Like, talk about, maybe just mention TECHSPRESSIONISM, emphasize to everyone, or do you want to go back into a work real quick? Or
I don't know. How do you think we're doing on time?
we're almost, I think we started about 2:15. We're at like 3:07. So, you know, I'd rather it stay in within an hour. I think that'd be good.
Okay.
It'd be good. But I only have a few more things to say, and then I'm going to show a picture of everybody at the show, and a kind of.
I wouldn't mind just showing just one or two more works real quickly.
Sure, absolutely. It's good for people to get context. That's why I wanted to show the Diamondscapes. You know, they're my novels, and the gun is a poem.
Well, and one of the things that I think really fascinates me about that, and one of the things I think is really important, is this whole idea of layers like that, and just the information that goes with it. Again, because that's another hallmark of what we can do digitally, is that we can link data, link information to the imagery, and not only through NFTs, but what you've done with the Diamondscapes. And to me, that just adds so much more to being able to understand the depth and the breadth of work that's being created.
Which is the revolution.
Yes.
It's the rising new visual vocabulary.
Yes.
You know, it's like Egyptian hieroglyphics meet word and image. And we have an opportunity now as artists to bring sense to this plethora mess that we're in. I mean, not all a mess, it's fascinating, but there's just so much information.
Yeah.
And by putting it into a visual, sieving it, going through a sieve where it comes out in a visual language, which every country can at least relate to it. You know, it's not like, oh, read it in English, read it in Spanish. Once all that comes out in a visual work of art that brings all those concepts together through the digital medium or technology,
yes,
it brings access to people on the ground. I mean, that's always been my thing. I'm not painting for the museums. I mean, I'd love to be in them, but I love it when a little old lady stands in front of a Diamondscape and goes, oh my God, what's that?
yeah.
You know, scared to death. And I go, oh, well, just touch this little QR code, see, and you can go inside, and the messages are revealed. And there's no mystery is lost by bringing access.
Yeah.
Now that's my particular thing. Not every digital artist.
No, and I understand that, but I mean, artists traditionally have looked at different ways to alter the flat plane, if you will. I mean, cubism and abstract expression. I mean, you know, there's just the various art movements have used, or the Fauvists, you know, looking at how color affects emotion and everything. I mean, it's just.
And yes, and the first Rembrandt's time, I didn't realize this, but the first etchings were being done.
Yeah, it's crazy. I know.
And they didn't even number them because they didn't really know what they were doing. I mean,
Yeah.
we know what we're doing somewhat. I mean, the digital age has been upon us a while, but we're in a pretty strong phase where it's connecting to people in a larger and to the art world in a way that everybody's kind of going, what's going on here? You know?
All right, I'm going to share real quickly. One last time here. You see this piece up real quickly here?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so this is my take on basically expanding. I won't talk about the piece too much, other than this was for a previous show that I did, my square root of -1 show, and this piece has 3 separate QR code cubes in it that are actually active. And
Oh, great.
if you read the QR codes with your smartphone, one of them took you to a webpage that I explained all of the symbology in here, from the QR code piece that's here to what the physics equations were about, to what the symbology of the ants and the everything in here. And another took you to explain what the heck is the square root of -1 and why is it important. And then another one.
That's an exciting math lesson if there ever was one.
Yeah. So
seriously.
So that was one thing that I really enjoyed doing. This piece right here is going to be in an upcoming show locally here in Phoenix. And this is a piece that was inspired using AI and using language, the text-based AI, and basically it created a just under 600 by 600 pixel image, and then this ends up being 6600 by 6600 pixels. So I take these AI images and I conceptually think of them as seeds that I have to grow. And so this piece is my concept or my idea of a internet-based cello that people can collaborate together to create musical pieces from.
Oh, great.
So this is my neuro cyber cello. So just another concept that I was playing around with. And this is one that I just finished last week. It's called The Hierarchy of Infinities. And this is another mathematical piece, but it's one that I really, really like. And I just thought I would share it. And again, this is something that I couldn't create without modern technology. But what I wanted to do was pay tribute. Since all that I work on, I end up printing myself. I print using Canson Infinity paper, which is from the Canson company, which is in France, which has been making paper since like the late 1500s. Picasso and others have used Canson for some of their works. And I wanted to have that connection since my mom and grandma were both born in France. I have that connection. And I wanted something historical that this modern work gets finished on. So for me, that's an important factor in this. That's nice. Yes, I work digitally, but I create for prints, and I wanted to have that historical art connection there in the work that I create. So.
And I think it's important that we attribute techniques and methodologies and materials and even historicity, which I see, I don't know, I see in your, like the Vermeer black and white tiles. And I mean, there's historicity in your work, you know. I love art history. It's fascinating the more you learn about it. This has been another fantastic time with you. I want to share one screen and then come back to us really quick.
All right.
It's just a quick picture. Let me remember to share this time, though. I always do that. I start talking and forget to share. Okay, I'm going to the desktop. Share. Hold on a second. Let me get out of this. Just want to share this picture and ending.
Yes.
This was taken during the show. I also wanted to thank the Southampton Arts Center, Tom Dunn, who's the executive director right here, Joe Dimon, he's hiding in here. I said, no, you're not a TECHSPRESSIONIST. And I said, I was kind of teasing him, but they certainly are part of this very historic show and helped us make it happen.
Yes.
And I understand that a woman, Amy Kerwin, also, who used to be there, did great shows, first got it going. And we've got Colin and just a lot of people, but it's not all of us. Ann Spalter, I'm hiding in there somewhere. You know, it's just, the point being, you know, is that we're not, as much as we talk about technology, you know, we're not just technobots, you know, we're real people out here. So I wanted to share, like, just a final, I'll stop the share, but I wanted to share this picture.
No, I think that's great.
We were all thinking about our cohorts. We have, I mean, there are people in the show. I'll be leading a little tour through the show tomorrow at 5:30 at TECHSPRESSIONISM.com. You can sign up at the TECHSPRESSIONISM Salon. But we have people from Iran, from India, France, all over the place that are in the show that couldn't come. So we'll be saluting their work.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, Michael, you and I could talk forever, and I do want to talk further because there are questions I wanted to ask about how you input your mathematical principles, but I think we need to, like, make that another one. And here's to our digital handshake #1.
Yes.
And I know there are others who are going to be doing them, and I thank you so much.
Yeah, and to all my TECHSPRESSIONIST friends, do one of these, because it'll be good to share your work, and there is a lot of interest, and this is the time to do it, because this show is just absolutely phenomenal. My heart aches that I couldn't be in this physical space, but I appreciate everybody's Instagram posts and videos. The Southampton Arts Center is gorgeous. I can't imagine a better place for us to highlight all the work.
Wonderful.
Yeah. All right, Roz, I think we will sign off here. Thank you again.
You too.
It's been fun.
Really has.
All right.